Oh boy. What a way to start. Um, yeah, so sometimes Restream, which is the stream propagator I use, decides to go live. And sometimes it doesn't. And so I went live unintentionally and didn't really have anything to show. And people were sitting there talking away. So I apologized. Then the microphone wasn't in the right state. And here all this, I was in the back switching this over to 16 millimeter from 35 millimeter because we showed some 35 yesterday. And so, sorry everybody, that was annoying. Very annoying. Sometimes things get very complex, but thankfully, addition is easy. Enjoy.
Billy Thompson is opening his bank. He's been saving to buy a set of paints for school and a baseball bat. Does he have enough money to buy those things? He doesn't really have the paint box yet, but let's pretend it's here. How much do the paints cost? 65 cents. But Billy doesn't have the paints yet. How about the bat? How much does it cost? $1.29. And Billy doesn't have the bat now either. Let's write down these numbers. For the paints, 65 cents, or 65 pennies. And for the bat, $1.29, or 129 pennies. But how much money does Billy have? He has $1. That's the same as 100 pennies. And a $half, or 50 pennies. And a quarter, or 25 pennies. And 1, 2, 3, 4 dimes, or 40 pennies. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pennies. Now Billy can add. Just a minute, Billy. Just how did you add? Arrange your money on the floor. And with the numbers, we'll see how adding works. Here are 8 pennies. Let's put down 8. And here are 4 dimes. How shall we put this down? To write this number, we need 2 places. Here's a 4 to stand for the 4 dimes. And now we'll need a 0 as a placeholder in the units place. We'd better move the dimes and pennies into their places too. One place will be for pennies. Call it the units place. And this place will be for dimes. Call it the tens place. But let's study our numbers a little. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These numbers belong in the units place. But 10 takes up 2 places. This 1 means 110. And this 0 means no units. Now 110 and 1 unit, 11. 110 and 2 units, 12. 1 10 and 3 units, 13, and so on. So now we all know that this number means 4 tens and no units, 40. We put down the number 40 to stand for 4 dimes. Now what number should we put for the rest of Billy's money? Here's a quarter. Let's change it to pennies and dimes so we can add. We'll change it to pennies first. How many pennies do we have? Let's pile them up and see. Here are 5 pennies to add to the other pennies, and 2 piles of 10 pennies each. A dime is the same as 10 pennies, and a quarter is the same as 5 pennies and 2 dimes. What number should we put down? 5 units and 2 tens, 25. Now, do you know how many dimes make a $half? That's right, 5. So what do we put to stand for the $half? 5 dimes and no pennies. 5 tens and no units. And now the dollar. What should we put for the dollar? Do you know? Well, suppose we change the dollar to pennies. What a lot of pennies. Let's pile them up by tens. Now, 10 piles with 10 pennies in each pile. If we change them to dimes, we'll have 10 dimes. And 10 dimes are the same as $1. Now, there are no pennies, so we'll put 0 in the units place. There are no dimes, so we'll put 0 in the tens place. Then a 1 in the hundreds place gives us the number to stand for $1. 100. And there are the numbers to stand for Billy's money. Now we're ready to add the numbers on the floor, just the way Billy added the same numbers on the blackboard. We'll start from the top and add the units first. 5 units and 8 units. 5 pennies and 8 pennies. That makes 13 pennies, doesn't it? But we can't put 13 in the units place. 13 takes up 2 places. 13 really means 1 10 and 3 units, 1 dime and 3 pennies. We'll put 3 in the units place. And we have 1 more dime to add to the other dimes. So above the tens place, let's put down 1. Now we'll add the tens. 1 10 and 5 tens and 2 tens and 4 tens. 1 dime and 5 dimes, 6 dimes, and 2, 8 dimes, and 4, 12 dimes. We can't put 12 in the tens place. 12 takes up 2 places. So we'll change 10 of the dimes to $1. Then there are 2 dimes left. And we'll put 2 in the tens place. Now we have 1 more dollar to add to the other dollar. And above the hundreds place, 1 more hundred to add to the other hundred. 100 and 100. $1 and 1 more dollar, $2. So we'll put 2 in the hundreds place. And that's the way to add. That's the way Billy adds. Now Billy wants to check, to make sure he didn't make a mistake. He added from the top to 4, so this time Billy will add from the bottom. 8, 13. 1, 5, 7, 12. 1, 2. And now Billy has 2 hundreds and 2 tens and 3 units. That's the same as 223 pennies. Is that enough to buy the paints and the bat? See if you can add with Billy. 4 belongs in the units place. 9 in the tens place, and 1 in the hundreds place. What is the answer? And how do we check our adding? That's right. Add from the bottom up. $194. Just what we found adding the other way. And Billy knows that $223 is more than the price of both the paints and the bat. So he can buy them both. And he'll have some money left. Uh-oh, better pick up the money. Now Billy can't wait to have both the paints and the bat. He added, and he found out that he has enough money to buy them both. And we found out how to add. We know that this is the units place, and this is the tens place, and this is the hundreds place, and 10 units are the same as 1 10. Addition is easy.
Oh, yeah. I know that the elementary math films can be a little tedious, but I personally find them to be meditative, and I especially like how they try to frame it. Like, how do we get kids interested in math? Well, it's all about saving money for the thing that they really want. That seems to be the common factor there. All right, so before the International Space Station, NASA had something in the sky called Skylab, and so they did a lot of different films there documenting research in space. This is before it fell to the ground in the 1980s, early 80s, 70s, I can't remember. Anyways, this is Magnetic Effects in Space. Enjoy.
During the summer of 1973, 3 astronauts, Alan Bean, Jack Lausma, and Dr. Owen Garriott, were launched into space, where they spent almost 2 months in the Skylab spacecraft, the world's first laboratory in space. The crew performed a variety of scientific experiments and demonstrations. The onboard scientist, officially designated a scientist pilot, was Dr. Owen Garriott, a former professor of electrical engineering and an astronaut since 1965. During the mission, Dr. Garriott conducted a number of demonstrations specifically for the use of science students. Back on Earth, Dr. Garriott discusses some of his Skylab experiences with high school students.
Skylab is perhaps the most unusual laboratory that you can imagine. Living in weightlessness meant that you didn't walk from point A to point B. Instead, you floated. And to do that, you simply pushed yourself off and drifted over to the spot that you were headed for. Now here you see some of our weightless gyrations that we went through during a little time we took away from our work schedule. Now this weightlessness also made it possible for us to conduct some science demonstrations that we simply couldn't do here on Earth because of the strong influence of gravity. Now, one of our demonstrations involved the Earth's magnetic field, and this completely surrounds the Earth, making, in effect, the Earth itself a giant magnet. One of the many things that this field does is to protect us from dangerous solar particle radiation coming not only from the sun, but also from the outer reaches of our galaxy. Skylab moves through the steady magnetic field of the Earth, making almost 16 revolutions every 24 hours. As you see, Skylab's orientation with respect to the nearby magnetic field is constantly changing. The uniqueness of the Earth's magnetic field has led some to the conclusion that this field may have been a vital factor even in the development of life here on Earth. We also know that even minute changes in the Earth's magnetic field, both its strength and in its direction, can seriously interfere with some aircraft instruments and also ships' compasses. And this can lead to endangering lives when their navigation is performed by reference to the strength and direction of the Earth's magnetic field. This field also is basically related to the appearance of aurora, or northern and southern lights as we call them, and interacts with the solar wind also, which is a new discovery of our space age. Let's take a look at some of our TV footage and see a Skylab demonstration in which some of the effects of the Earth's magnetic field are demonstrated.
I'm sure most all of you, at least at one time or another in your past, have had the occasion to use a compass. It's of course made from just a little magnet, and the north end always points toward the North Pole, and you can use it to determine, for example, your way out of the woods or your way on a hike and that sort of thing. Well, perhaps many of you haven't ever thought about whether or not the Earth's field extends far out into space. For example, here we are up in Skylab, some 270 miles above the surface of the Earth, and indeed the Earth's magnetic field does extend out this far, and in fact a good deal further. But we can demonstrate that as well, and perhaps you would enjoy seeing such a demonstration. Here's a group of little magnets that I have. These are about 2 inches long and about 2/10 of an inch in diameter. And when we put these just floating out in midair, like I'm doing here, you can see that they take on a very definite orientation. For example, there is one. I've released it right out in the center now, and you can see it is settling down to a specific orientation. That's the direction in which the Earth's magnetic field is running here, right along parallel to this little bar magnet. And we can, of course, use this to determine the direction of the Earth's field right up here at the location Skylab is at. Now, as we travel around the Earth, if we could watch this for a longer period, we would see this little magnet make several rotations as we circle the Earth, because the direction of the Earth's magnetic field is changing. Now, here's another thing that we can do. You see, we must not get too close to it with another magnet, because when we do, the two of them interact, and they very much perturb and influence the other one. Now, let me just make a couple other little demonstrations here for you. First of all, we've found, you see, that one magnet aligns very nicely with the Earth's field. And if you watch very carefully, you can see this dipole oscillate back and forth. And I'm removing all the other magnets so that they do not influence it. Now, perhaps you'd find interesting in one of your science classes to try to compute the period of that little compass. Or another way to do it, you can measure the period from this oscillation and compute the strength of the Earth's magnetic field right up here at the Skylab orbit. To do it, you'll need to know a little bit about this magnet, but you can estimate that approximately from the fact that it's a 2-inch long, 2/10-inch diameter magnet, and make a calculation to determine what the period of that oscillation should be. Now, here's another little question that might be appropriate for some of the younger members of our audience. Suppose I take two of these magnets and I put them together like this. Now, if I put these out here and let them float, you see they have almost no tendency at all to line up with the Earth's field. There's just a little bit remaining, but almost no tendency at all. And so perhaps you can explain that, or if you can't, you can ask your science teacher, and he or she can tell you why it is with two magnets like this, we seem to lose that tendency to line up with the Earth's field. Well, we saw the period of one oscillation a minute ago. Let me try it with two magnets, end to end like this. Now you see, they also oscillate. It's not like the two side by side. Two end to end will still oscillate. And maybe you can see that. And you can measure this period. And from that period, you can again calculate the Earth's field, or you can determine something about the inertias of these combination of two magnets. And I'll leave that for another calculation for your science class. Now we'll give you a close-up look at the oscillation of one magnet. Put it back in the center. And now we'll use two to oscillate. And you see the period of this oscillation is a good deal more slow when we have two of them together. And we can extend that even to three rods if we like. And there the period is very clear and can be measured rather accurately. Now if I put 3 side by side, you again see they all have a different period. And they move a little too fast there. There we go.
Before resuming our Skylab demonstrations, I'd like to give you an opportunity to measure the period of the oscillations of the different combinations of magnets that we've just been looking at. Now, after you've measured these periods and the film is ended, your instructor will supply you with the other data that are needed to calculate either the moment of inertia or the strength of the Earth's magnetic field from our Skylab location up in space. Now, here's how I would suggest that you make the measurement of the period of these oscillations. Now, this little pin that I'm going to show you here will represent the dipole that you've just seen, and in my other hand, I've got a stopwatch. And so the way I would measure that period is to wait until the dipole has tipped to one extreme, its motion, and more or less stopped, ready to turn around, and at that point, start your stopwatch. And then measure at least 1, or if there is time, perhaps 2, or even 3 oscillations of the dipole, and then stop the stopwatch. Now, I've just simulated there, for example, measuring 3 of the oscillations, and my stopwatch reads 10.5 seconds. And so the period, dividing 10.5 by 3, gives us 3.5 seconds per oscillation of the dipole. And then you'll want to go back, of course, and measure that period for each of the various combinations of magnets that we've just been looking at. First, let's make a dry run. Start your stopwatch precisely when you see the dot and hear the tone. Count the oscillations. 1, 2, and then stop the watch when you see the dot again and hear the tone. Okay? Now we're going to repeat the footage for the single magnet so you can make that measurement. When you're through, write down the measurement on your paper, and then we can measure the period of the oscillations for 2 magnets. Now let's measure the period of 3 magnets side by side and write that number down. Then finally, we'll measure the period of the 3 magnets when they're placed end to end in a long single dipole. When you've completed that, we'll have 4 measurements recorded on our paper, and we'll use these measurements in our calculations when the film is ended. Now, in another demonstration, we will observe the effect of a magnet attached to a nut, similar to this one, that we caused to spin like a top in space. Now we're going to tape a little magnet to the nut, just like this. Use a little piece of gray tape, just the way we did on board the spacecraft. And we're going to observe the effect of this magnet on the spinning of the nut. Note that the polarity of this flat magnet is not along its long axis as it is with the little bar magnets. Instead, the north and south poles are located on the flat sides. What we'll see is, first of all, when we launch it in an orientation parallel to the Earth's magnetic field, that the spin is fairly stable.
You see, once again, it continues to spin pretty nearly stably about the direction in which it was launched.
But what happens if we allow the nut and the magnet to float freely in space? Let's take a look at the case in which the attached magnet has an orientation or a polarity in which its dipole is not in the same direction as that of the Earth's magnetic field.
But the next thing I want to show is when I tip these in a direction perpendicular to that. If it's not spinning, watch what it does. You see, it tips right over and turns parallel to the Earth's field so that its spin axis, or its axis through the disk, is oriented with the Earth's field just the way it was before. That's its normal tendency, is to tip right over and align its own dipole with the direction of the Earth's field. Now I'm going to spin it about this direction, and we'll see what its reaction is. All right, now it's more or less spin axis perpendicular to the Earth's field at this point. Now, we may have to watch it for just a minute here, but the thing that I want you to observe is the fact that its spin axis is tipping over in another direction. You see how it's now tipped over to the point where it's almost facing the camera. And now it has. It's tipped about 90 degrees, but not toward the Earth's field, which is off to my right. Instead, it is tipped over towards the camera. Now, this is called precession. Now, we'll go back and check the Earth's field once more. We'll see whether or not it's changed. Take another of our little magnets. It may have changed a little bit, but not a great deal in the time that we've been talking. But these magnets are already influencing each other, as you can see. And they'll align themselves just like that in the direction of the Earth's field.
Now this concludes our demonstrations of magnetic effects in space. We've observed, first of all, the oscillations of various combinations of little bar magnets. And then next we've seen the precession of a spinning object, in this case a small gyroscope represented by this spinning nut with a magnet attached. After you've completed the suggested calculations, you will know that the Earth's magnetic field extends far out into space above the Earth, and you will have calculated its magnitude and observed its changing direction. We've also seen the very first demonstration of precession ever observed in this marvelous new laboratory that we call space. And in this laboratory, of course, gravitational forces no longer perturb our experiments. Perhaps your own curiosity and imagination will suggest even more sophisticated experiments to you, which can be demonstrated on later flights.
No love for the astronauts. Not everything that NASA makes is exciting explosions with awesome music. I remember I was digitizing some things for an astronaut. It was some of his home videos, and he was a shuttle astronaut. And there was this tape, a VHS tape, of him, and it was on the Vomit Comet, and they had a bike, and he was on the stationary bike, and every time they would do the thing where they would kind of, go up and then go down, where there was kind of a weightlessness, then this light would come on, and then he would start, like, pedaling the bike really fast. And these scientists were next to him, kind of like looking at his EKG and all these other factors. Then, they would have to even out on the plane, and then he would stop. The light would go off, and he would stop. And then, same thing for like 4 hours. So, NASA's not always like super scintillating. There's some tedium and some boredom. So I apologize for the tedium. Let's try to make things a little spicier by showing what it's like to live in a metropolis in New York City. Enjoy.
New York City is located on the Atlantic coast of the United States at the mouth of the Hudson River. Here, in the largest city in the world, more than 9 million people live and work and play. New York is a great center of transportation, industry, and trade. Such a city, important to the life of a whole country, is called a metropolis. New York is a metropolis because it serves the needs of the entire United States.
One reason New York has become a metropolis is the fact that it has an excellent harbor. The port is the largest in the world. New York is a natural gateway to the United States. From New York, natural lowland routes lead inland, up the Hudson and Mohawk River valleys into the Great Lakes region and the Midwest. Besides being a natural gateway into the interior of the country, New York is also the terminus of many other lines of transportation. As a result, an immense volume of shipping passes in and out of New York. Goods from many parts of the country and from foreign lands are handled at the city's docks. There is room for hundreds of vessels to load or unload their cargoes. More ships come into this harbor than to any other port in America. Railroads connecting New York with other parts of the country carry great quantities of freight and many passengers to and from the city. New York is the eastern terminus of a great railroad network that reaches all over North America. Passengers here arrive and depart for all parts of the United States and for Canada and Mexico as well. Aviation has increased New York's importance as a transportation center. Near the city are 3 huge airports. These are busy day and night, serving passenger and cargo airlines. Much of the air traffic going in and out of these air terminals is international. From here, one may buy a ticket for a flight around the world or fly overnight to London and Paris. By plane, it takes less than a day to South America. Flying over New York, it is easy to understand why there are so many tall buildings on the small island of Manhattan. Here, the only way that enough room can be made for business places and homes is to erect higher and higher buildings. Many of these are called skyscrapers. The metropolis of New York is actually made up of several large cities. The most important of these cities within the city is the crowded island of Manhattan, where 2 million people live. Another 3 million live elsewhere, but have jobs in Manhattan. And every day, hundreds of thousands come to the city as visitors. In a crowded metropolis like New York, people have difficulty in finding places to live. Park Avenue, the city's best-known residential street, is lined with tall apartment houses. Another section of Manhattan has the largest Negro population of any community in the world. This is Harlem. In much of Harlem, as in other parts of New York, families live crowded together in tenement houses. Some sections of New York, such as the one called Little Italy, seem almost like communities in a foreign land. These neighborhoods were settled by immigrants who arrived in New York from countries in the Old World. Others who came later found life in the New World less strange by living with those who could speak their own language. In Chinatown, most of the residents are people whose parents or grandparents came to the United States from the faraway Orient. Many different races and nationalities make up the population of New York. This metropolis has been called a melting pot because sooner or later its people become Americans. In some parts of the city, worn-out tenements are being replaced by groups of modern skyscraper homes. In these buildings, hundreds of families have their own separate sets of rooms, called housekeeping apartments. The crowded island of Manhattan is but one of the 5 divisions of New York City. These divisions are called boroughs. Besides Manhattan, there are the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Richmond. And for miles beyond, the activities of the people are so closely linked with New York that the entire area is known as Greater New York. A New York family wishing to occupy a single house with even a small lawn or garden must live miles away from the business district. Communities surrounding the city are called suburbs. Although in the suburbs of New York homes are built close together, families enjoy more freedom and are not troubled by the noise of the big city. The transportation of the millions of people who go back and forth to Manhattan Island every working day is a tremendous problem. People who do business in the city but live in the suburbs are called commuters. A great many of these people make their daily trips by train. During the morning and evening rush hours, all means of transportation are crowded with passengers. Ferry boats run back and forth across the rivers and bays that surround Manhattan Island. Most people who travel by ferry come from communities in New Jersey and in the borough of Richmond. Before bridges were built to link Manhattan with the mainland, ferry boats were the only means of moving passengers and vehicles to the island. Today, New York has the most elaborate rapid transit system of any city in the world. Because there is no longer room for tracks above ground, trains go underground into subways and tunnels as they approach the crowded areas of the city. Tunnels have been bored deep under the rivers, and fast electric trains run on tracks laid beneath streets and buildings. These underground railways make it possible for New Yorkers to get about the city quickly. Moving stairs help passengers from the subway stations far below ground to the level of the streets. Because Manhattan is an island, a great many bridges are needed so that automobiles and trucks can go in and out of the city. The George Washington Bridge spans the Hudson River and connects the highways of New Jersey with express highways that run around the island of Manhattan. New York's express highways also connect with tunnels constructed just for motor traffic. 4 great highways built under the rivers lead from various parts of the island to New Jersey, Brooklyn, and Queens. These tunnels are used by passenger cars, buses, and by the fleets of trucks which haul goods and supplies for the millions who live in the city. Tons and tons of food are needed every day for homes, restaurants, and hotels. Because the land on Manhattan Island is too valuable to be used for raising food, everything in the markets comes from outside the city. Farms as far away as Oregon, California, and Texas help feed the millions who live in the metropolis. Because there is little space for storage in Manhattan, fresh foods must be delivered to big central markets every day. During the early morning hours, produce from all over the country is distributed to thousands of smaller markets, grocery stores, and restaurants. At noontime, streets are filled with lunch hour crowds. Throughout New York's business districts, there are restaurants to suit every taste and every pocketbook. Automats are cafeterias where customers drop coins in a slot and in return obtain food quickly. Grouped around one short and narrow street at the lower end of Manhattan are many big banks and investment firms. The money that comes to Wall Street belongs to millions of people everywhere who have put their savings in bank accounts, insurance policies, stocks, and bonds. These financial companies provide much of the money needed to carry on business and to expand industry in the United States as well as abroad. The money to build skyscrapers comes from Wall Street firms that make a business of investing money for other people. The Empire State Building cost many millions of dollars to build and is the tallest structure in the entire world. This skyscraper is 102 stories from top to bottom. It provides New York's crowded midtown area with space for thousands of additional offices and shops, yet it occupies less than 1 block of the city's valuable land. The Chrysler Building has 77 stories and, like other skyscrapers, provides headquarters for big businesses that have offices all over the country. The group of tall buildings at Rockefeller Center is almost like another city within the metropolis. Many of these buildings are occupied by radio and television studios, advertising agencies, and insurance companies which serve the entire nation. People like these earn their living by doing things which other people want, instead of making things. Hundreds of people work for press associations upon which newspapers all over the country depend. But within the metropolis of New York, a great variety of goods is manufactured. The largest industry is the making of all kinds of clothes, from underwear to fur coats. More than a third of all the clothing worn in the United States is made in Manhattan's Midtown Garment Center. This industry developed in New York chiefly because great numbers of garment workers came here from Europe. With them came dress designers, and the city soon became a fashion center. The manufacture of a single garment may be done in several different workshops. In this heavily congested district, it is cheaper and faster to move clothing from one shop to another in hand carts. Today, stores all over the country sell clothing patterned after styles seen in Manhattan's most expensive shops. New York, like every metropolis, is a great trading center. Upper Fifth Avenue shopping district is the most fashionable in the country. Many new styles are first shown in Fifth Avenue stores. The window displays of shops along Fifth Avenue are one of the principal attractions for most visitors to New York. Many dealers import expensive merchandise from abroad, while others specialize in fine American-made products. Whatever the world makes to sell can be purchased in New York. Even the rarest of luxuries may find a buyer among the millions who shop in the city. Just as the metropolis of New York is a center of transportation, industry, and trade, it is also a great cultural center. Of all its many museums and art galleries, none is more famous than the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Almost every day, classes from some public or private school visit the Metropolitan. Admission to the museum is free of charge. A great many students attend art schools in New York in order to make use of the city's many museums. The collection owned by the Metropolitan is one of the largest in the world. It is a national treasure whose worth cannot be measured. It is almost a miracle that in the very heart of crowded Manhattan Island, an immense tract of land has been reserved for a public park. The men who planned for New York's growth had great vision. Long ago they foresaw the need for Central Park, Manhattan's great outdoor playground, where the city's minions now enjoy grassy spaces and the cool shade of trees. But millions of New York families live too far away from the city's parks and playgrounds to visit them every day. The children whose homes are in crowded neighborhoods have no choice but to make playgrounds out of the streets. On hot summer days, an opened fire hydrant is the city child's substitute for wading in a cool, running brook. And for older boys, the swimming hole is at the end of one of the city's hundreds of piers. Coney Island, one of New York's largest beaches, faces the Atlantic Ocean and is easily reached by subway trains. Throughout the summer months, Coney Island is crowded with people seeking relief from the sweltering heat of the city. At night, the brightest reflection in the skies over New York comes from Manhattan. The biggest entertainment center in the world is the area around Times Square and Broadway, the Great White Way. Within walking distance of Times Square, there are hundreds of theaters, stage plays, and motion pictures. Here, too, are the opera, the ballet, and concerts. A metropolis is more than just one big city. It is a city made up of many cities that serves not only its own people, but also the nation. It is a great center of transportation, industry, and trade, where millions of people live and work and play.
I love New York. There's no way I would live there, though. Forget it. But I love working there, spending time there. Maybe I can do 2 weeks at a time, but there's a lot going on there that is still amazing. Let's see. I got on the scanner behind me, a film. What's so great about books? I don't know. Let's find out.
If you could get whatever you wish for your child, if money and family circumstance didn't matter, and you could pick out anything you like, what would you choose as the finest gift you can think of? Do you know that the most precious gift anyone could imagine is something well within your reach, right where you are? Something your child will never lose, that will never break or wear out or go out of style. Something your child will treasure more and more every day of every year of his life. The cost can be very little or nothing at all. In fact, it's something that money cannot buy, and it's a gift that probably only you can give. Most of us hope our children will be good readers. A child who reads well has a happier time in school and someday will qualify for a good job. But the world of books and reading is far wider, far more important than just making good grades or getting a job. A real deep-seated love for reading is a priceless heritage, a close one-to-one relationship with persons of every nation and walk of life, a lifetime window on the whole world. This devotion doesn't happen by itself, however, and it doesn't happen overnight. It comes only from many, many pleasant experiences with books shared with one or more adults who are themselves devoted to books and reading. Ideally, the sharing begins when the child is a baby, listening to the music of lullabies, the rhyme and rhythm of words he does not yet know or understand. It's never too early to expose an infant to happy, comforting, reassuring words. The experiences grow more meaningful as the baby becomes a toddler, a preschooler, then a kindergartner. By the time he starts to school, books and reading will be as natural and necessary a part of his life as eating and sleeping. Who will do this for your child? Books alone cannot do it. A book without a caring adult attached to it is of no value to a child. Television cannot. Many parents believe that television can take the place of reading or being read to, at least until a child starts to school. But this is not true. Learning to read is an individual achievement, a skill that's mastered through the child's own effort with help from an interested adult. It's one of the most exciting and satisfying adventures that a young child ever has. There's nothing very challenging in most TV programs for children. There's no intercommunication. No one to answer the child's questions, no one to listen to his comments, to share his joys, or quiet his fears. He cannot reach the individual on the television screen, and she cannot respond to him. Teachers, librarians, and other specialists are eager to help, but these busy people must help many children, and may see your child only occasionally. Besides, by the time your child is old enough to know these experts, several of the most vital years have passed. Many authorities believe that teachers in the early grades can do little to overcome a child's lack of experience with language during the preschool years. Only you or another adult who cares deeply about your child can lay the foundation for a lifetime love of books and reading. It's a precious, joyous experience for everyone. Sharing books together can form a bond that will never know a generation gap. How do you begin? Well, actually, you plant the seed when you first cuddle your newborn infant in your arms and talk or sing to him. Long before a baby understands words or experiments with making specific sounds himself, he recognizes different sounds and tries to give them meaning. Sing to your baby. He doesn't care whether you can carry a tune. It's the sound of your voice, the rhythm and rhyme that matter. Talk to your baby about himself, his actions, the things he sees around the house. Soon he will delight in simple finger plays such as This Little Pig Went to Market or the Pat-a-Cake game. Take your baby walking. Get him up out of the world of legs and feet and into the world of faces and conversation. Name the things you see. Listen when your baby talks to you. Encourage him to express himself, to try new sounds. When he begins to form words, help him put them together into phrases and simple sentences. When he says dog, say to him, "Yes, that is a white dog." Babies less than a year old enjoy looking at pictures. You can cut out large pictures of familiar objects from magazines or calendars and paste them on a piece of cardboard. These arouse a child's interest and help him develop a vocabulary. Cloth books with large, uncluttered pictures are easy for small hands to hold. You can buy them for very little, or you can have fun making them yourself, from remnants of muslin or other firm fabrics with pictures from magazines, calendars, or greeting cards. A baby also enjoys handling gift catalogs and discarded magazines with pictures and learning to turn pages. When you are sure your child can treat a book kindly, visit your public library and borrow some of the excellent books with pictures of animals, familiar objects, and the alphabet. Young children respond readily to poetry and soon learn to recognize and then to say simple verses. Beginning with familiar Mother Goose rhymes, you can go on to share with your child short poems about common experiences. Soon your toddler will be ready for stories with simple plots. By the time a child is about 18 months old, he needs to have someone read to him daily. Most children who are read to during the preschool years learn to read more easily than those who are not. With hundreds of beautiful picture books on every kind of subject, reading aloud quickly becomes a favorite activity. The stories and poems a child hears in the preschool years affect his growth more than many parents realize. They teach him hundreds of new words, expose him to new ideas, stimulate his imagination. They teach him appreciation for other people, help him to form values, aid him in building a good view of himself. They help him know the world around him and encourage him to ask questions, make comparisons, and become a creative thinker. A child often asks to hear a favorite story again and again. Sometimes he may want to share it with you or with friends by acting it out, pretending he is the main character. Flannel boards also fascinate children and provide a good way to share stories. You can make an inexpensive flannel board by covering a heavy cardboard with outing flannel or used receiving blanket. Pictures cut from magazines, worn-out storybooks or coloring books, or traced from picture books, make good characters when a bit of flannel is glued to their backs. Try telling a story such as The Little Red Hen using the flannel board characters as pictures. Then let your child tell the story in his own words, using the pictures to help. A shoebox lid lined with felt makes a little flannel board that's easy for a small child to handle. The box, covered with bright contact paper, makes a good place to keep the story characters. Simple puppets also help to dramatize a story. A hand-drawn picture taped to a ruler, or a wooden spoon with a bit of yarn for hair and a piece of cloth for a dress make a puppet that a preschool child can handle. Another simple puppet is made by stretching a wire coat hanger into a face shape and pressing it into an old nylon stocking. Facial features and hair can be glued on to form a puppet or mask. Even paper bags decorated as different storybook characters can serve as puppets. Children respond more readily to books about situations with which they've had some first-hand experience. It's important for a child to have many experiences outside his home and neighborhood. Trips to the zoo, museums, the airport, the grocery store can be both fun and informative. Visits to the public library to attend story hours and select books should be part of the family's regular routine. A child's exposure to stories and books is sure to arouse his curiosity about letters and words. You can help him recognize letters and their sounds. By whatever method your child learns to read, basically he must learn three things: to recognize shapes, to see the difference in shapes, and to attach sounds to the various shapes. Letters, after all, are simply shapes. Puzzles with a few large pieces are a help. Wooden shapes are nice to handle, or you can make them yourself from cardboard. Your child will enjoy shapes games, finding and matching those that are alike. At first, there should be just a few shapes, easy to tell apart. New ones can be added 1 or 2 at a time until all the letters of the alphabet and the numbers are included. The preschooler enjoys trying to make the shapes himself and recognizing them when he meets them around the house or away from home. Praise him for his alertness when he finds a letter. Let him know you're proud of him. Help him attach the right sound to the letter. How long has it been since your child has seen you reading something besides the newspaper or a recipe book? Children are great imitators. They love to do what they see grown-ups and even older children doing and enjoying. Include your child in your reading. Even if it's over his head, he still likes to feel he's taking part in what's going on. When your child starts to school, he will have an advantage if you have talked to him, read to him, shown him how to follow a story and talk about it. He will enjoy his school activities if you have helped him to feel at home with books and records or tapes. Later, as he begins to read, listen to him and praise him. Help him to feel that he is beginning an important venture, learning a rewarding skill. No matter how well your child learns to read, you must go on reading to him. It will be several years before his skill can keep up with his interests. By reading stories too difficult for him to read himself, you will keep him reaching, and you will continue to build on that priceless, warm relationship you shared during story time when he was younger. There are hundreds of stimulating stories and volumes of poetry to challenge a growing child's mind, interest, and values. He will discover that stories can take him to places and experiences far beyond the realm of his home and community. Children often delight in interpreting stories they read. Your child may find new uses for his old flannel board, or may enjoy drawing or painting pictures of stories you have read together. He may put on elaborate puppet shows or creative plays with his friends based on favorite stories. As your child grows older, the reading aloud activity will become a two-way street. When your child comes to you wanting your views on something he's reading, or just to share a choice bit of beauty or humor, then you'll know what it is that's so great about books. Years ago, a man named Gilliland wrote a poem that ends, "You may have tangible wealth untold, caskets of jewels and coffers of gold. Richer than I, you can never be. I had a mother who read to me." Wouldn't it be wonderful if all children could grow up feeling this way about books and reading? Don't you hope your child will?
And what, may I ask, is a dear little cupcake like you doing with nasty old school books? My dear child, we haven't had school or books in ages.
No school? Really?
Why don't you get rid of that school book? You can drop them in here.
It'll get all burned up in there.
Well, of course it will, dear child. And so it should. Books tamper with man's basic, natural ignorance. Now, what could be worse than that?
But I can't burn this book. It's school property.
Nonsense! Apple sugar. You just need to get into the mood.
Books are not where it's at, teaching you how to spell cat. I know you'd rather play, so why don't you throw all your books away? burning, the fire is already yearning to put an end to any learning.
1, 3, 5, 9, throw 'em in, the fire's fine.
Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire.
2, 4, 6, 8, time to incinerate.
Books will not make you wise, and reading's bad for your eyes. I am sure you agree, so why don't you give all your books to me? Books are made for burning, fire is already yearning to put an end to any learning.
This one here is very good about a man named Robin Hood.
Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire.
No, I never liked Tom Sawyer. I won't be a book destroyer.
Books can only confuse, teaching you things you can't use. You should listen to me. Burning your books will set your mind free.
Books are made for burning, fire is already yearning. Put it into any learning. Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire. Books are made for burning, fire is already yearning. Put it into any learning. No, stop!
All right, so the fact that I show a film about books, you know that I'm going to show books are for burning because I love that little segment from Magnificent Major. I hope that does not diminish the fact that I'm going to show that film. Although, you know, maybe I'll surprise you one day and watch a film about apples and apple sugar, and then boom, we'll show books is for burning. Books are for burning. Anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in today. I know that some of the films were more challenging than others. Tomorrow, maybe we won't make them so challenging, but I don't know. Sometimes I really dig a film and you guys don't like it, and vice versa. You really dig a film and I'm like, eh. That's kind of the nature of AV Geeks. So thanks for tuning in today. William, thanks for the coffee. You can buy us coffee at ko-fi.com. You can also hit the thumbs up, the like button, the subscribe button, all those things that you can do to tell the internet world that you approve of what we do. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.